Hi, good evening. My name is Rajesh Azrin Shah, and welcome to another episode of Technology Thursday on Water Think Tank. Water Think Tank was initiated to create a space to explore and discuss past experiences, current approaches, innovations, and future needs related to the water ecosystem in a broad sense of definition. Now, Technology Thursday is designed to bring sciences to the public domain by showcasing various technologies and their applications to build knowledge and create awareness among industry players and the public, as well as provide exposure to the work and exploration of the scientific community. Tonight, I have with me a scientist, Dr. Rafia Wahi from University Malaysia Sarawak. She comes from the Faculty of Resource Science and Technology. So, a brief introduction about her. Dr. Rafia's research work focuses on the processing of agricultural waste for utilization as useful products. So, she has under her belt 16 projects, and she's published to date more than 33 scientific papers. And on the record, she has more than 683,000 ringgit of research grant. So, welcome to Water Think Tank, Dr. Rafia. How are you?
Hi, thank you, Raja Shazrin, for having me tonight. Thank you very much.
So, okay, tonight we are going to focus your work specifically on solving the wastewater problem, specifically wastewater that are oily. So oily wastewater. So I think we can get into the research work directly. So a little bit of background. Where can we find research or oily wastewater actually?
All right. So actually, before I answer your question, Shazrin, oily wastewater is one of the important issues to be addressed of because oily wastewater they comes from many sources, many industries, including food processing, including metal extracting, and other industries. So there are many research has been done on removal of oil from wastewater in order for us to find solution to these many sources of oily wastewater and the complex nature of the oily wastewater. So most of the research in removal of oily wastewater can be found in journals. And in Malaysia, I believe there are many researchers also working on the same topic for various types of oily wastewater.
So when we talk about oily wastewater, like I'm a researcher myself from the chemical engineering part. So when we talk about oily wastewater, normally in the industrial sense, we will be thinking palm oil mill effluent and food industry. And I believe your work focuses mainly on these types of wastewater. We're talking about biological wastewaters, right? Biologically oily, right? Okay.
Yes,
So yeah,
yes,
go on.
Shazrin. Yeah. Actually, for my research group in Unimas, we have been researching about techniques for removal of oil from wastewater since 2009, I think. Since 2009, we have worked on so many uh, oily wastewaters, including petroleum-based contaminated wastewater. And my favorite one is on the palm oil mill effluent, or we call it Pome. Because right now in Malaysia, for palm oil mill effluent, normally we have the ponding system, the pond system, which we have a series of ponds which require large area of treatment for us to basically reduce the contamination and physically then remove the oil content from the wastewater. But uh, and then these processes they require large area. That's one thing. And another thing is they need um, a long period in order for that process to be completed, and we get the end product or the end effluent, which is free of oil. So what we did in our research is that we utilize agricultural waste from many sources. For example, palm kernel shell, from palm oil anti-fruit bunch, coconut shell, sago bark, sago hampas, and several other agricultural waste, and we use them as adsorbent for removing this oil. So as we know, adsorption is a process which relatively has higher efficiency in removing oil, and also it's very cheap. It's a cheap process. It doesn't require too much knowledge required by the laborers for operating it. It doesn't require a large capital to start it, and it doesn't require large operational cost as well. So this is an interesting thing for us to explore, and that's why we did this research to address two problems at one time. We call it killing two birds by one stone. One, the overabundance of the agricultural waste in Malaysia, and another one problem is to solve the oily wastewater problem in Malaysia. So that's what I can say for now. Yeah.
Okay, it sounds very interesting. But before we go into the actual process that you have invented, maybe just to put into context from the various audience that we may have, how damaging is palm oil meal effluent or POME to the
All
environment?
right. All right. For your information, yeah, Shazrin, the palm oil meal effluent, it has very high biochemical oxygen demand. It's about 4,000. Sorry, it's the oil content. Sorry, the biochemical oxygen demand and also the chemical oxygen demand is extremely high compared to other wastewater generated by many other industries. Especially in Malaysia, we are one of the major player of major exporter of palm oil. So we have many palm oil mill processing for generating this palm oil. So we have a lot of oily wastewater. Besides of the high chemical oxygen demand and biological oxygen demand, the oil content is also very high. It's more than 4,000 to 8,000 milligram per liter. So you can imagine it's a very thick oil we have. Whether it's in the form of that you can skim out, physically skim out from the wastewater, or the one that you cannot skim physically, meaning you have to do something like adsorption to take out the emulsified oil in the pome. So that's the major problem. If we don't treat this oil content, the high oil content, and let the final effluent to be released with high oil content, it will actually be a destructive thing to our general wastewater treatment plant if it comes to the public drainage and so on. So it become a problem. That's why it must be treated prior to be released to the
Yep.
waterways. Mm.
Yeah, I did a little bit of work on palm oil meal effluent back in those days when I was in the undergraduate, and I remember thinking about it. You know, when you talk about untreated sewage water, right, from coming from your toilets, we can expect like the COD value of around 300 milligrams per liter, or 300 ppm. When you talk about palm oil meal effluent,
We talk
there
about
has been
thousands.
studies that, yeah, we are talking about 60,000 to
Yes.
100,000 milligram per
Yes,
liter. So
yes, it's very heavy wastewater we call it. Mm.
okay, all right. Just to prompt, we're about 10 minutes in. So for those of you who have just joined us, we are having Dr. Rafi'ah from Unimas today on Water Think Tank, talking about her invention of using natural products to treat oily wastewater. So we were about to go into the invention, but before we go to the invention, I have another question. What drives you to, what drives you to come up with this idea of using these natural products?
Okay. The idea comes when we went to palm oil mill effluent. As usual, my field is about waste utilization technology. So I went to many industries to get their byproducts, their waste to be treated, to be used for useful product, to be converted to useful product. So one day I happen to go to palm oil mill. Okay, so I saw there are many types of problems that I can see. One, about the overabundance of solid waste. We have empty fruit bunch, we have palm kernel shells, we have the sludge cake. So that's one problem. Okay, and another problem I see is how large area that must be used for treating this palm oil mill effluent before they can be released to the waterways. And even yet, the final effluent that is released to the waterways, they still have some colors. It comes from the nature of palm oil itself. It has colors like carotene and something in the content of the oil. So
Is the
it's
lignin and
yeah,
tannins,
it's
right?
still
Yeah.
in the final effluent. So this I was thinking that maybe there is other ways to deal with this wastewater, oily wastewater. We know we have other type of or other methods, other techniques for treating this oil water. We have coagulation, flocculation. We have many other techniques beside absorption, but it is not used in many of the palm oil I have visited. But I think even before, what I think is that even before the wastewater coming to the coagulation and flocculation process, we can use filtration biomass filter for us to reduce the concentration and the heaviness of the wastewater prior to these other chemical processes. So it would be very environmental friendly and also cost saving for the treatment itself. So that was the first time I thought about this research.
Okay, so there's two big words that we need to solve inside your idea here, for the benefit of the general public. One is the esterification. So can you walk through in maybe simple words? What process is that?
Yeah, esterification is basically a chemical treatment using fatty acid derivatives. Okay, so these fatty acids, they are categorized. We can categorize as short chain fatty acid, medium chain fatty acid, long chain fatty acid, and so on. So basically, when we add on long chain fatty acid onto the biomass, it actually improve the capacity or the ability of the biomass to absorb oil. So that's basically how I can put it in very simple word. We add this fatty acid derivatives, for example, stearic acid, palmitic acids, and we make this biomass more capable to absorb oil, even
Okay.
in wastewater. Mm.
So when you talk, this is the other word that we need to explain, I think, to the public. When we talk about absorption, is it the literal absorption, like you would have sponge absorbing water?
Yeah, it's like that. And on top of that, it's also categorized by physical absorption. For example, like the sponge extracting water, and we can take it away. And it's also involving chemical absorption. chemical thing inside the biomass that we treated, which can attract oil from water. And even if we do something physically to the water, the oil which has been trapped by the biomass will not be released back to the water. So that's basically the process.
Okay, Dr. Rafia, we have on screen a summary of the process, or rather a bird's eye view of your invention. So can you walk us maybe box by box, and what actually happens,
All
and
right.
what are the products that are coming out from each of the process?
All right, thank you, Shazrin. Actually, we have tried with many natural fiber, okay, coming from agricultural waste. As I mentioned just now, palm kernel shell, empty fruit bunch, coconut shell. We tried many, but in Sarawak we have a relevant problem with sago bark from sago flour processing mill. Okay, so we have the sago bark. We collect them from sago flour processing mill. So we wash them. After we wash them, we do chemical modification, where we add on fatty acid derivatives, like I mentioned just now, stearic acid in this case.
Mhm.
And we optimize this process until we have a low cost processing, and using as minimum chemical as possible, but yielding as maximize removal as possible. Okay, so that's what we do during optimization. And
Okay,
then
doctor, I will
yeah.
stop you there before you go on to the third box. All right.
Mhm,
You
mhm,
mentioned earlier that this invention solved two problems. So one
mhm.
problem is the oily wastewater. I'm thinking the other problem is you're actually utilizing another problem now, which is the sago bark itself, right? The fibers that are actually
Correct.
a waste. So
Correct.
how significant is the sago bark problem as a waste? I mean, is it polluting? What do they do with it? They throw it in the river ke macam mana? What happens there?
Ya, kalau nak ikutkan, for sago flour processing, they generate a lot of solid waste as well as agriculture byproduct. For example, they have bark of the tree. Okay, they cannot take all the components of the tree for processing sago flour or sago starch. They can only take the inside of the trunk for them to process. So
The
the
soft
bark.
white part, right? The soft white part, right? They shave
Yeah,
off.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they can only take the white component, the inner side of the trunk for them to process. And the outer layer or the skin of the sago tree or sago trunk, they have to throw it away. Normally it has no use. They just dump it nearby the mill. And sometimes we have another solid waste. We call it hampas, sago hampas. It's coming as the byproduct of the flour processing itself. So it is the end product which always normally is dumped into the river. That's the common practices, because when it's released into the nearby river, if it is not in very big amount, it should have no problem. But if we put too much, release too much into the nearby river, it will cause organic pollution, like the overnutrient, and increase in the COD, BOD of the river water. So that's why we are utilizing this waste for this purpose.
Okay, okay. For the viewers
Mhm.
outside, feel free to drop in your questions in the comments. I do have people that will prompt your questions, so we will try to answer them on screen. Otherwise, I think Dr. Rafia will be more than happy to attend to the comments maybe after the show. Okay, you were in the third box. After the chemical modification, we go
Yeah.
into the drying, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The sample is was then dried, and then during our research we characterized them. Okay, so that we are sure that they have a good adsorbent properties. Okay, after characterization, then we apply them for removal of oil from Pome and other wastewater.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So I see a lot of big words, a lot of big machines that you have there. So you have your FTIR, SEM, BET. So the university has invested heavily for this kind of research as well. I'm wondering, what kind of acceptance are we getting from the international scientific community in terms of focusing this kind of research?
All right. If we look at the papers published recently, okay, in recent years for research related to oily wastewater, this is actually an important topic. Even though we in Malaysia are working on the solution for removal of oil from Pome, in other countries they also have kind of similar problems, like from olive oil wastewater and other cooking oil processing mill. They also release oily wastewater. So whatever we are doing here is actually relevant to the outside people as well. In fact, our paper, which has been published, they have been cited um, in various various researchers from various countries for them to continue research and also apply our approach for their own kind of wastewater.
Okay, that's really good to hear. And on screen, we have a little bit of recognition from you. It shows there that you have patents that are pending for this
Yeah,
invention.
yeah. Yeah, this was back in 2013. So at that time, we apply our invention. We call it Sago Zob. Okay, so the esterified Sago bark just now, we call it Sago Zob. At that time, we apply it as a method to remove petroleum-based oily wastewater. For example, water contaminated with engine oil, diesel oil. So we form like you see it uh like
Like a
a
pad.
kit. Yeah, like a spill kit, oil spill kit here. So actually you can just throw this away on oily wastewater, and then you can have it floating for more than 7 days,
Mhm.
and it will attract as much oil as possible. What we have research is that what we found is that it can attract up to 38 of up to 36% removal of wastewater. And aside of having two patents from this research, we have also won several exhibition in innovation exhibition, whether it is at Unimas level, national level, and also this one, I think, from the British Invention Expo, I think BIS. We won gold medal for this. We
Okay.
call it, this is the second generation of our Segozob. That one in 2013 is the first generation. We use as like a pillow just now, like a oil spill kit, but this time we use column. We use in the form of filter, cellulosic bed filter. So this is our second generation of Segozob.
Okay, Doctor, we have some questions coming from our Facebook viewers. So one of the questions is, what happens to the solid waste after the oils are being absorbed?
Yeah, actually, we cater this as well. Okay, so whatever has been spent after removing the wastewater, we actually um, use them as solid fuel. You can actually use them as solid fuel. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Mm.
So it means that this can go into as a fuel, and it doesn't release any toxic vapors any emissions.
Of course, when we do the burning or the combustion for the purpose of using it as fuel, we have to be careful of the release, because we are dealing with, especially when we use that Segozop to attract petroleum based oil from wastewater. But for Pome normally it's not as as toxic as the petroleum based uh, product. Okay.
Okay, understand. So we have another question from a Facebook user, Siva. Can this sago bark be used to treat oil and grease from commercial food industry, or have you tried it before? Has it been implemented?
Actually, we have tried it using cooking oil. So basically any food industries which have problems on their wastewater polluted with cooking oil, they can actually use this solution.
Okay, all
But
right.
so far we have only done in small scale, laboratory scale, and also small scale, not yet implemented in industry.
Mhm. I think after the one of the I'm imagining one of the challenges that would be what is the separation process after the absorption? I mean, do you get a slurry and things like that? Which I can relate with the question coming from the Facebook user. If you actually absorb water from non-food lah kan, we were talking about oily coming from the industry like grease and things like that. The biomass that comes later, it becomes a schedule waste, right?
Yeah, if we are talking about absorption of oil coming from metal processing, that could be a schedule waste.
I see. Okay, so
Mm.
it depends. It is highly dependent on what is being absorbed onto.
Yeah, what pollutants we are dealing with. Mm.
Okay, okay. We are getting a little bit of a environmental sentiment coming from the Facebook users now. So there's a question about how about greenhouse gas emissions. No, I mean if the fate of the used adsorbents are burning is as a fuel. So, what about greenhouse gas emissions? Have your team looked into that?
Yeah, that's why, like I mentioned just now, any combustion, any burning, we should do it in a as a closed burning, not an open burning, to avoid the release of greenhouse gases and other toxic gases that we don't want to be in the environment.
Okay, so there is some control that needs to be implemented lah. So,
Yeah,
for those of you who have just joined us, we have today Dr. Rafia Wahi from Unimas, and we are talking about her invention of using natural fibers, esterified natural fibers, as means to treat oily wastewater. So feel free to leave your comments or questions in the chat box, and we will try to address them. So I was about to ask, how far are you from actual commercializing this product?
yeah. Actually, we are uh, planning, or there are some ongoing work that we do in order to, make this product safe, and also we have enough data to prove that this product is scalable to larger scale, and also it doesn't give any bad effects to the environment. So we need more data on that. So what we are working now is the relationship between the chemical oxygen demand and also oil removal of POMI, whether they have any relationship between the level of COD and also the level of removal. We are also now looking at the larger scale of filtration system using this product, so that we know whether this is scalable to industrial scale. Okay, and another thing that we are looking now is the performance of our sample for various type of oily wastewater from industries. For example, just now we have tested on cooking oil, waste cooking oil, engine oil, or petroleum based oil, and also Pome. So we want to test and have more data on many other industrial based oily wastewater before we can show this to the industry and have enough things to prove that this is a good solution for their problems.
Okay. You mentioned you have two patents pending, right? So maybe a little bit of background about which part of the intellectual property are you patenting? Is it the idea of using Sago, or is it like a general approach taking fibrous, natural fibrous waste? Can you
Yeah,
walk us?
it's the method. Both of them are the method, the
Ah,
process. We are
so,
patenting the process of preparing the esterified waste, esterified sago waste. Not
okay.
only for sago waste, but for general cellulosic fiber. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're talking about in waste that are available in Malaysia, so what other cellulosic fibrous waste can we expect apart from Sago? I mean, Sago you may find that a lot in Sarawak, but if you're talking about countrywide, what are other fibers can we use?
Yeah, actually we can try it on empty fruit bunch, but for empty fruit bunch, it might be a little bit tricky to modify them because on empty fruit bunch as well, it has some kind of oil on its own surface. So you really have to clean it maybe through alkalination first before you can proceed to esterification process. So that would be double chemical processing. I don't think that's quite feasible. But another interesting sample, which my friend is currently doing in UPM, is they are using kenaf fiber to do the same thing. Actually, they replicate the same method and also the same processes, the same sample, which is palm oil meal effluent, but they are using kenaf fiber to see the suitability of kenaf fiber for doing this thing. Mm.
So we have another question from a Facebook user. Would you consider it be? Would you consider a pilot project in a real industry? Let's say for a fast food outlet to treat the oil and
Yeah, yeah. I would really love to do that. Actually, it's the dream of every researcher, Shazrin, for their product, for their invention to be able to be applied in a real situation, in real industries, actually. So yeah, I'm waiting for that, inshallah. We are working on that.
So we hope to see maybe some of our viewers that can bring forth some of these collaborations, right? So another environmentalist comment from the Facebook user. They say we can't do any open burning in Malaysia. So if we convert it
Correct.
into fuel, I just wonder if further studies conducted to analyze the SOx, NOx, and other releases from the burning process.
Yes,
Do you
true.
have collaborators working on that?
Yeah, that's true. If we want to use it as fuel, we want to burn it into fuel, then we definitely have to check on the SOx, NOx, COx emission. These are all important things to prove that this is safe for usage later. Yeah.
Okay, so the first part, I would say the first part of the research involving the adsorption process has already been established lah. But the second part on utilizing or treating the spent adsorbents are still undergoing
Yes,
lah. I would
it
say you're
is
still
still
testing that out, right?
ongoing. Yes, yes, still
Okay,
ongoing.
so can we track back a little bit? We have a question from Punita on Facebook. Do you think enough research has been done in treating oily wastewater, especially Pome? And what's required to address river pollution due to Pome? So maybe let's address the second question first. Are there known problems of Pome polluting the rivers?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware and I'm concerned, the OE are very strict about POME release into waterways, into drainage. and all industries, including palm oil industries, they are required to reduce their pollutants, the contaminants in their effluent, so that the final effluent at least meet the standard B of DOE standard, right?
Mhm.
So I believe that the enforcement is done, in a correct way. So um, I don't think there is any serious problem of oil coming from Pome polluting the environment, as long as the enforcement is done. However, um, for the final effluent which comes to waterways, I find that there is still color in it. So I think for researchers, if you are interested to work on solving the POMI problem, this is one of the things that is very interesting to explore and find solution on it, so that when the POMI is released to the waterways, we don't have the red color or like lichet color. It's not polluting actually. It's the keratin color of the POMI. But actually, if we can recover that, we can get keratin. We can sell it. It's something of value. Yes, and we like I said, we can solve two problems. One, we can solve the color problem in the final effluent, and another one, we can have a product that we can commercialize.
Mm.
So that's my point of view. And
Thanks,
also
doctor.
about whether there are enough research has been done on Pome, I think Pome has attracting attention of many researchers, especially in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Africa, because we are uh, the largest producer of palm oil effluent. But for other
Yes.
countries, I don't think they have any interest in doing research for Pome.
Mm.
They are
It's
focusing
not
only
just
on wastewater. Yeah.
it's not just Pome, right, doctor? Because I think a lot of research done on similar wastewater. People from the olive oil mills and things like that. So
Yes.
they have similar problems. I would also
Yeah.
like to call out just to say shout out to one of the viewers. We have Anam. I think this is a fellow scientist from Germany. She works on apa nama, on water treatment and water science as well. So I suspect that the question about the open burning may be coming from her. Because for the viewers' information, we cannot see unless you provide permission to StreamYard. We cannot see your name when you comment or on the back end. So yeah, thank you for asking the question. So all right, just to also follow up on some of the questions on for me, right? So do you have support from entities either through grants or even collaborations through apa nama, institutions like MPOB or even mills to support this work? The reason that I'm asking is to see how much traction are you getting on people really wanting to address the oil inside the palm oil mill effluent.
Yeah, we get very cooperative contribution from palm oil mill. We actually already went to, I think, in Samarahan, Serian, and Kuching area. I've been to more than three palm oil mill to collect samples, and they are more than willing to provide, cooperation and help us as much as possible. I think there is an interest also on the industry side on us for providing solution for this problem. Mm-mm. Because
Okay.
right now, if we like I mentioned just now, the ponding system require large area and very long time. But other chemical treatment, they are price. The cost is high, so we are looking forward to new solution for this problem. Mm-mm.
So, uh, just to go into a bit of detail on the treatment coming from the Sago bark. how much removal are we actually getting from your product of oil?
For batch experiment, we have something about 95% removal of oil, okay, from Pome. This is the emulsified oil, not the oil that is floating on the Pome. Okay, we just work on the emulsified oil. It can go up to 95%. But in filtration system, in column system, it can remove up to 92%.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
So actually, the floating one, normally the mills will tend to recover that, right? Because it's still
Yes.
oil and it's still
Yes.
valuable.
Yes. It's still valuable. Yeah.
Mm.
So we're
Is
working on the emulsified oil.
is the emulsified ones that are usually a little bit more tricky and more
Yes.
challenging to actually
Yes.
recover. So this is not a recovery, right? It is more of a treatment process, right?
We can call it a recovery if we want to. Depends on the end intention, the end objective of the treatment. If the objective is to recover the oil, then we can use this process to recover oil. But if we want to use, if the end objective is to just to get rid of the emulsified oil, then we call it water treatment.
I see.
Yeah,
If we are recovering, can we actually
we need other processes.
okay.
Yeah, to take out the absorbed oil from the fiber.
Okay, all
Ah,
right. Okay, so we have a comment from a YouTube viewer, Zainab Ngaini. So the work is supported by Tun Openg Sago Chair from the Sarawak government. Tell us about that. That is a big accomplishment, I think.
yeah, Prof Zainab is actually my core researcher. We've done
Ah,
this since 2019 together, and and we have, I think, three times we already granted from Tun Openg Segoche for this project. So we really hope that we can scale up this process to industrial scale and make this thing happen. Yeah.
okay. So if you're getting this kind of grant, it it shows that there is some traction in terms of interest from the government. So is there really enough raw material for you to produce absorbents that for use outside of Sarawak, perhaps?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question, Shazrin, because if you look at the way Sago Mill is located in Sarawak, it's quite scattered. We are a very large state. We have
Yes.
many divisions, and yeah, we have small holders of Sago plantation. We also have big holders, the bigger holders of Sago plantation. So they are quite scattered. So the challenges is to find a way to have all this sago bark, all this waste material to be able to be collected and processed before it is become rotten, because the sago bark is very sensitive, when because it have a part of the pit in with the bark, right? When they take out the white pit for processing of flour, some of it are still attached to the skin, to the bark. So
Ah,
that's
okay.
why this sago bark, if you throw them away, they are very smelly, they rot. Okay, but because the bark is so hard, it doesn't rot that easily, it doesn't degrade that easily, so it becomes smelly for a long time. Even if we transport it, it can easily become very smelly in one day. So that's one challenges that we see, but I think all challenges, they do have solutions. This can be can be solved if we really work into it.
So it is not just one problem that you're solving. It's actually many parts of the problem, right? We know you mentioned that even the sago bark not being fully utilized can pose environmental problems. And now you're talking about smell. So it's many parts of problem that you are solving, I can imagine, right? And then
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, if you're commercializing the process, would it be feasible or even possible to actually have small processing areas to treat or to rather pre-process the sago bark on site?
Yeah, what I'm imagining is that the Sago mill, they will treat the bark as a valuable source for their income. And then what I imagine is that they can have the drying process on site. So the dried sago bark, it can be sold, transported to one processing center because it's already
Ah,
dried, so it's not so heavy anymore. So it can be not so smelly anymore. It can be transported to one processing center at the middle of all the scattered plantation area.
so
That's what I imagine, Shazrin.
it
Mm.
lasts a little bit longer because it's
Yeah, yeah. They can have it as a side income for the meal actually.
okay. All right.
You need to say that
So
they sell their waste.
we a little bit of a general question on the overall approach of using natural fibers to treat oily wastewater. So we know oil inside the effluent has some value, lah, right? It carries with it some value. So how high up the rank would someone consider this process to be? In terms of cost saving, would the approach be to this process as something that can possibly allow you to recover oil or reduce costs in terms of processing downstream. Like because Pome is oily, a lot of processes need to be strike out, kan? Which is why they are left with just lagooning or ponding, right? So where does this process stand? I mean, what do you see that it will replace or improve in the downstream of treatment of oily wastewater?
Yeah, the way I see it, I think the we can still have the first pond after the processing meal. The hot, the raw pommy can come into the first pond. Leave it there for for the physical skimming of the floating oil, right? And then after that, we can have this coal Pome to be treated through a cellulosic bed filter. And then we can go for other treatment, for example, biological treatment. And even coagulation and flocculation treatment because the water is not so heavy anymore. We already absorb some of the emulsified oil and it is less polluted. So the downstream processing would be with lower cost. That's what I think.
Okay, so this is an angle that is interesting. I find it not just to say that it is a full treatment process, but is it fair to say that your process makes Pome treatment less challenging? Betul tak? Because to treat Pome is a very challenging. As far as I'm a chemical engineer and I look into water treatment, wastewater treatment, and when you talk about Pome, it is as difficult as it gets when you talk about biological treatment. So, would you say that this cuts the distance or rather the challenge by half?
Yeah, especially in terms of the duration of processing. That's what I see. Mm-mm.
Okay, because I know the ponding system, the hydraulic retention time can be up to 100 days, right?
Yes, and you need I think more than three ponds in order for you to get more lighter wastewater before
Okay.
it comes to other processes. Mm.
What about I know recently there's some traction building on utilizing palm oil mill effluent to produce biogas now, to produce methane and to produce hydrogen. Does this process or does your invention also help that?
Actually, when we talk about production of biogas, maybe they are utilizing anaerobic processes on the sludge itself for them to gain biogas, like methane and so on. Yeah. So that part of processing is on the sludge itself, which I think is very interesting one also. In order for us to get a zero waste industry, so that anaerobic treatment or anaerobic digestion process, which produce biogas, can solve a part of palm oil mill problem. But our invention just now, our research is more on the Pome itself, the liquid waste,
Okay,
not
because
yeah,
a lot
not the sludge.
like was mentioned earlier, because of the oil present there, so a lot of processes will not work, right? So maybe this opens up a little bit more options for people to employ other technologies into wastewater.
Yes,
All
yes.
right, so we are about 52 minutes in already, almost an hour. I know it doesn't feel like we've talked for almost an hour already.
Sorry, I took a lot of time.
No,
Yeah.
no, you are such good company. So maybe we before we wrap up, a thought came to my mind. Uh, what next? I mean, for your invention, what next?
Yeah, as I mentioned just now, we really hope that this product can scale up at industrial scale, so it can really benefit the real sector, the sector of concern, which is palm oil mill sector. As you know, we have been criticized worldwide as well for our palm oil production, right? For our
Mhm,
palm oil
mhm.
mill, palm oil plantation. So this is one way for us to be better in processing of our wastewater, especially on palm oil industry.
Okay, so that I think that's a very good closing. So before we end, I think I have a question coming from Miss Punita about research. Okay, so research in in STEM, science and technology, is so important. So what words of encouragement would you give to the younger generation, especially in STEM research, especially in the wastewater sector?
Yeah, I think one of the best strategy is to go to the site and look into the real problems and see ask the industry what can we do for them, what are the problems that we can solve for them, work on that. That would be a very um beneficial thing to do instead of we just looking into papers, journal articles for us to find out problems to be solved. Go to the industry, talk to the industrial people, and ask them what can we do to solve their current problems. I think that would help our country more better than we trying always to publish and so on. Another thing is for us to have more, currently we have a lot of support actually from the government, and in our case we are working on uh, industry of concern in Sarawak because it's one of our major crop product. So we have a lot of support from the government. Um, and for early researchers, for young researchers, try to tap on the sectors, the key areas of important by the government so that it's easier to get funding. And you can also have fundings from the industry if your solution is well pitched to them. That's what I can say.
Okay, so we have another comment from Facebook user. Okay, for those of you who have still questions, try to pop it in. We still have a few minutes, so I'll try to get Dr. R. Dr. R, it looks like you're becoming like a superhero, right? There. Dr. R, you should approach DOE to get principal approval for waste to be converted into biofuels. I
Yeah,
think it's a
yeah,
good idea.
yeah, yeah. I agree with that.
So, what are the challenges of this? Are there restrictions in terms of regulatory restrictions for this to happen? Do you foresee?
Yes. Yes, especially if the sago bark, esterified sago bark is used for treating some kind of oils from certain industries, like I mentioned just now, maybe textile industry, metal processing industries, and so on.
Okay, so the definition or rather the approval need to also take into consideration what kind of oil is being absorbed into the
Yes,
absorbent, right? Because that will directly we would directly contribute to the definition of the actual waste after that, kan? Because
yes,
there
correct.
might be constituents that has been absorbed that should not be burnt, betul tak? That should not be combusted. So
Betul.
I
Yes.
yeah, a little bit more thinking lah, maybe in that sense. Okay, a more light question lah before we wrap up. I think we have maybe another 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes. Uh, are you working alone or is there a big team behind you?
Yeah, actually we have a team, Shazrin.
Okay, so
May-
I think that's
Maybe,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce my team, which work on research related to waste utilization technology. Um, we are working currently mainly on a part of esterified fibrous sorbent for removal of oily wastewater. We also work on pyrolysis, especially the microwave pyrolysis. We work on biochar. All are from agricultural waste. We utilize them into useful product. So I have myself here in the group with Prof. Zainab Ngaini. I think she's here as well listening. Dr. Israelina, Ms. Sharifah Mona. We are all academic staff of UNIMAS. And we have my PhD student, Muhammad Imran. And all these ladies, they are my master student, but all graduated already. They
Oh,
helped me a lot yeah, G means graduated.
ah,
I
all right.
yeah, they helped me a lot throughout these years of my research. I'm very thankful for the support from the team. Without the team, yeah, nothing can be accomplished. Great, yeah,
So,
yeah.
Dr. Rafia, I think you must be very proud. You've graduated so many young, bright individuals, and I can't help but notice the immense or the number of women scientists in your group. So, care to share a little bit, or are there challenges in Unimas of the competition between the gender competition? Is it there?
Actually, I have no objection working whether with ladies or gentlemen. I also have co-researchers from other universities. It's just that for UNIMAS, it seems that my team are all ladies. Yeah, but I have the boys as well, the gentlemen as well from other universities. We have Prof. Longman from UPM. We have Prof. Lam Sushung from UMT, and from other universities as well. I have another good collaborators from Iran as well, Dr. Mohsen. So we work on this together. But I think it's my rezeki lah to get a lady student. It's just recently I get one PhD gentleman. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. It looks like a very healthy, very professional team. So I look forward to seeing more inventions coming from you soon. Uh,
Inshallah,
well,
inshallah.
we are at the end of our show. Uh, as our honored guest, any last words for us?
Yeah, I would like to thank Shazri, Punita, Siva, Water Think Tank Group for having me today, tonight. I enjoy having this session and I look forward to many other collaborations in future. And I hope things that we shared tonight will benefit the young researchers and everyone watching us tonight. Thank you and my apology for any shortcomings. Thank
Okay,
you,
so
Shazin.
thank you, Dr. Rafia, for kerana sudi lah for for appearing tonight, on our show.
My
And
pleasure.
yeah,
I should
I've
thank you.
yeah, I've enjoyed it very much. In the past, we've had a lot of people from the industry, so I think that you are the representations of us scientists. Like I say us because I also do research, so I feel that we would like to get a little bit of traction and a little bit of attention from the research or from the scientific community as well. Coming on to Water Think Tank, talking about Technology Thursday. So okay, thank you very much. If
Thank
For
you.
the audience, thank you very much for your time, spending your time to watch our show here. And how do I say? If you have further questions, maybe you can drop it onto the comment section. I think Dr. Rafia can address it maybe a little later. So thank you for your time, everyone, and good night. Thanks, Dr. Rafia.